Welcome Vedanta, this is Osho TV and we would love to interview you. Thank you for your time. And the first question is, how did Osho come on your path?
First, I want also to thank you for giving me that opportunity. First of all, I'm so grateful that Osho came to my life. I think it saved my life. It came through channeling. I was actually channeling since I was 18 years old. It happened in a spontaneous way. I didn't even know what was channeling. And I had, with 18 years old, an out-of-the-body experience. It was in an accident. I was involved in an accident. And after that went up, and I saw myself from above. I was separated from my body, my consciousness. And then when I was there was a beautiful quality of acceptance, something I didn't know about when I was 18 years old. I was just a kid. And after that, it came more and more and more in my life that I started falling in spontaneous trance states and channeling. And in one of these channelings, I was asked from my friends to talk about myself. In this channeling, I was speaking that I will meet a master, he will be from India, and actually in the channeling it was outspoken who is going to bring me into this path and the whole plot. So when I woke up, I was furious about my friends that did this in spite of me, because I was actually almost sleeping. I was not having any awareness, any memory of what it was said. But then it happened exactly as I was speaking it out in this trance state. When with 22 years old, I got in touch with Osho through these people in Greece. And that's when the real journey started. And then with 18 years old, after this experience that I had, I became a medium. And I started having a career in Greece, in Germany. I became famous. I was called in conferences, New Age conferences and so on. And of course, one part of me liked it very much. My ego liked it very much. I had so much attention. I was in the spotlight, great. But another part of me was insecure and didn't know what I was doing in a way. And when I was in this trance state, wisdom was coming out, leadership quality, people were coming to see me. I was on the way to a guru trip, really. But another part of me didn't know what was going on, and even feeling scared about it, because people were starting to follow me, and at some point I felt this is too much. Especially when I was called in a conference in Germany with big names, big shots at the time in the New Age scene. I thought, I'm not doing this. And that was the point that I decided to drop everything and go to Pune and go to Osho. And there I was received in a very beautiful way. Although I had decided to drop channeling, it was at the time that the Osho Mystery School was starting to be created. So they called me and they heard about me and they said to me, no, you don't stop doing this, you do it here, in the light of Osho. So I had to give some test sessions to these big people that I didn't know, a very innocent Greek girl. And I was received in a very beautiful way. I was welcomed and I started channeling in the light of Osho. And at the same time I started working on myself. And that was very, very beautiful for me. That was the best ever, the best time. And I realized about the intuitive gift, the channeling, many important things. I really got into the guidance of Osho. And I realized, first of all, that it's not about splitting off what is happening here in the body, in the daily life, to get into some spiritual, in brackets, reality, far away from what we feel, what is here, what is inside of us, what is with the body, what happened to us in our story, how we created our personality. We need to look at those things in order to be able to let go of them and come to the real. So I started working on myself, And I realized I have to ground myself first in my body to come back in me. I learned so much about grounding. I had to look at my whole childhood issues, and it became a very beautiful adventure, very beautiful adventure. That was one part about the grounding, and the other part was about spirituality. The realization that spirituality is not something that is cut off from the here and now, from the real, but it is, spirituality is the everyday life. Living the life with passion, living the life with totality. Thanks to Osho, I learned that it's wonderful, wonderful what he did for me. To live with totality, live with intensity, give 100% to it, all the passion that's inside, and live with intention, put out intention in the field, and not just wasting time and not looking at what's there, and spacing out. Not spacing in rather. That's what I got, and I feel so grateful, really, so grateful. And of course the intuitive gift has to do with the heart. And it's about opening the heart and trusting the path of the heart. And the heart is not emotionalism. The heart is just presence. It's just being here. So opening the door of the heart to be sensitive to oneself, to be vulnerable, to come in touch. And from that place, use intuition. Very, very beautiful path. That path of the heart, the path of intuition. And it's not about connecting with some faraway intelligence or somewhere on another planet, but connecting with the true source. The true source is in every one of us. And we can have direct access. This is our potential. It's about realizing this potential.
Yeah. When you had this psychic experience, when you were 18, that went into your heart already immediately, because that's where it talks, or that's where the connection is.
Yes, that's exactly what I meant before, saying that in this terrible moment of being injured, in a not good way, and I was floating above my body, but what was interesting for me, also coming back quickly after, that there was a quality of acceptance, that everything is okay, everything is fine, just the way it is perfect. I didn't know that. I didn't know this quality before. I never felt it in my life. I felt a big space in my heart, deep silence, deep serenity. My body was in pain. It was shocking, and something in me was, everything is okay. Everything is fine. Life is going on. Everything is for the better. It was amazing. That was the big opening.
You came to Osho. What you learned grounding.
Yes.
But you were working as a channel already.
Yes.
Then you got a grounding, and how did that influence your work?
I mean, the channeling has been always there, and I realized that the channeling has been always there since I was really a child.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I got to remember so much through the work that I did on myself, that since I was 4 years old, 5 years old, 10 years old, it was always there. Amazing experiences. I remembered. I was calling the souls. I was talking to the souls when I was a child, and asking guidance and wisdom to relieve the pain of other people around me. Like not just do some strange tricks or something. Not for power. I was using it from when I was a small child. Yes, how the grounding changed the channeling. That was your question.
Yes.
So it gave a real clarity and an immediate rooting in the here and now, and not losing oneself into stories. I loved the last talk of Osho, the last discourse of Osho. It was about past lives. I don't know if you remember it. It was so impressive for me. It was, the last discourse was about past lives, and Osho said suddenly, he says, who knows about past lives, he says, more or less. The past lives that you remember might not even be yours. It might be the past lives of someone else. So in a way, the spiritual ego that is investing the self-importance in my own past lives is swept away. I liked it so much. So forget about the past lives, forget about the story. It's just about being, and that's for me so real, the realness of it. Huh? So that's what grounding brought to me, to bring this intention in my work in channeling, opening up to Osho, opening up to the source, opening up to the real, not for serving stories or leading somewhere where we can build more stories about the future, but being able through channeling to connect with the higher power, the true self inside every one of us. And when I mean true self, I mean selfhood itself. Like, we all have our individuality, but there is more than that, just our individuality. There is selfhood. It's that state or that dimension of the real self. So it's basically the connection with the source.
And it's the quiet and the peace you were talking about.
That was the quiet and the peace, that the space of acceptance is the entrance. That's the door of the heart.
Yeah.
I was living 10 years in Pune. I was spending the most of my year in Pune then. And I loved it. I really loved it. I loved it. It was 1996, where I was called in Australia and I got involved in an aeroplane crash.
Yes.
And I was very blessed and fortunate to survive this. And not just to survive it, I had to face death again. My body was disintegrated, I was really wrecked. When you meet death so close, when you're so close to death, something crashes down. The personality doesn't have a reason to exist. You cannot perform, you cannot be vain about yourself, you cannot try to show something. You are there in such a helpless state, out of control. And I mean, in a way, it's a very violent way that this happens, but in a way, also it is a gift, because you cannot pretend, you cannot perform, you cannot put a show on, you cannot put a role on. You're just there in a helpless state, like a child again. There is the trips of the personality, the defense, come close, don't come, pushing away, or I need you, I don't need you, and I don't, all this cannot exist because it's so much helplessness there and lack of control, and it's a surrendering, it's a surrendering. I was very lucky to live without my personality for a while.
Yeah.
I remember the first time I stood up again in front of my sink to wash the plates. That was maybe after 8 months, like for a few minutes. I was so ecstatic that I was washing my plates. No, it was amazing. I got really this taste. I got this taste. I can never forget.
I think after that you met the, I cannot pronounce his name, Afasai?
Faisal Mukadam. Before my accident, a year before my accident, I was doing in Pune the Osho therapist training with Suda. And there we worked on the theory of the holes from Almas.
Yes.
I knew already from before, because I had fallen in the hole. I had the experience with 27. It happened to me with 27. I was in the ashram, in a black robe, with a white belt, being a therapist. And suddenly I fell in the hole with 27 and I didn't know what was happening to me. So I was running through the ashram to find some friend therapist to ask, what's going on with me? Help. It's experience of having no ground, like feeling the abyss, like having almost the feeling that you have not a self, or everything is taken away and you don't know anymore who you are, which is actually a good experience. But in the first moment that one feels that, it feels like a negative emptiness, a negative void, before we can relax with the void as the mother of all. And I felt the sense of the negative void inside.
Some kind of panic? Or?
Yeah, at the moment it was so intensive, it was almost like a panic, but I relaxed. And then 1 year before the aeroplane crash, I had come in touch deeply with the teachings about the theory of the wholes and so on. And I was even asked to maybe organize something for Faisal Mukaddam in Greece. But the plan was fallen away because I had the crash. And then straight after the crash, the year after, I was called to participate into some retreat and get to know about this work. And that was very precious for me. Because this work is about learning to recognize the essence. The essence is not something separate from us. We are the essence. It's part of the life itself. And then when I met Faisal Mukaddam, I got to see this part, to focus on this part. And something also happened in my channeling, I must say, that was very precious. Because I realized that the source and the higher self, or the point of light, as we call it in this work, is inside. And I felt a big healing if there was any subtle split inside me about that wisdom and me as a self, me as a real person. That split was starting to come into an end. You know, and I'm working on that, of course, every day. It's an everyday adventure. It's not that now it's finished.
Moment.
Yes, of course.
Yes.
Every moment, and that's the beauty of it.
Yeah. And that's where this came from?
Yes, this is a book I decided to write because I feel so full and so grateful about this recognition of essence and living with this in the everyday life. So I decided why not to write, because the teaching has not been yet written in the Diamond Logos Academy. So I'm holder of the field of the Diamond Logos Academy in Greece, and I decided to write this. So, because in fact there is nothing of that kind almost in the world of psychotherapy. We have all the world of psychotherapy, or the world of the essence and spirituality. And I thought, wait a minute, there is a gap in between. We do all this psychotherapeutic work in order to get the garbage, so to say, out of the way, so we can reconnect to our essence. But or you go to do the essence work, and people don't want to talk so much about the psychological stuff. But how is this possible? Because if I want to reconnect with my essence, I need to know what in the first place cut the connection to essence, and that is the psychological stuff. So I need to look at that.
Yes.
Right? And then if some therapists do psychological work and they don't know about the recognition of essence, although they might be experiencing essence, then they don't help their participant when they go to the essential experience to move with that, because that's the most beautiful part of this work. So we stay only the psychological, we limit the work so much. So I realized there is a gap between the psychological work and the essential dimension, the domain of essence. So I thought, this is something that needs to be covered. And due to the fact that I have some, psychological knowledges, and I collected so much knowledge over the years, I worked more than 30 years with people, so I thought, let me do the connection with the two. So I want to write this. And out of this came this book. And it's quite a rich work. Mm-hmm. It's called Soul and Essence in Psychotherapy. And it's exactly about the word psychotherapy. It's an ancient Greek word that means serving the soul. That's what it means, serving the soul. And you go to the so-called straight psychotherapy, and there is no talk about the soul. The most of the therapists, they don't believe even in the soul. And these things need to be outspoken so we can remember who we are.
Yes.
We need to remember. All the psychological stuff that comes up is not a disturbance, it's frozen essence, it's frozen honey.
Beautiful.
It is a deep need to connect to essence that is blocked by an issue. So the issue comes up because in reality, it's the essence underneath that says, hello, I'm here, just find a way to access me.
Yeah.
So it's nothing to discard or to throw away. It's the opposite. put the attention there so you can see what this is about.
Yes.
What is the essence that wants to manifest and is blocked in a certain way. But I have to say something more here. The gift of Osho in this. What I experienced with Osho, from being in Pune and living there 10 years, Osho works on the level of totality, on the level of 100% passion. It's not about lukewarm. And Osho works so much on the energetic level. With the work of Osho, there is so much lovability opening up in a person, so much the ability to love and to hug and to dare to open up. And this is so important because if the energetic level of that energy is not opened up, how can we access essence? We can talk about the psychological and do some psychological work. We can have some experience of essence. But if our energetic reality is not opened up, is not willing to move, we cannot find the bridge. So the energetic work is the bridge between the psychological and the essential. And this is the work of Osho. I must say that I have never seen anywhere else that level of work and depth in the energetic level, which is the middle, which is the bridge between psychological and essential, than with Osho. I must say that. I have never seen it.
And Almaas, I think he does the same, but...
You know, Almaas is beautiful and it describes so much of the essence, of course.
Yeah.
But the work on the energetic...
The work,
on the energetic level, yes.
The practical...
I never saw it anyone else. I must really say that with uttermost gratefulness and humbleness to Osho. He's the one. He's the one that led that path of the energetic work. It's amazing. And in order to do the energetic work, you need to roll up your sleeves and get down to the pain sometimes. It's not always so pleasant. And it's not always nice the things you see about oneself. So you have to level with that. We have to level with that.
And you have 2 schools, I understood.
Yes.
2 schools. Why 2 schools?
Yeah, one is the Osho Institute for Intuition, where I do the Power of Light work, which is my own work. And the other part of my work is the Diamond Logos Academy, which is really the work with Leslie Makadam, which is very beautiful, very, very deep and beautiful work. And it doesn't stop there because I'm also a mother and my daughter is my real teacher at home.
Yes.
And I became, the last 12 years that I have her in my life, I became a more conscious parent. That's my path. And another part that I do that I'm very much dedicated to is education. So I write books on education and essence, psychology and parenting. And I have some publication now in Greece. And even with a group of people in Greece, we created a school. We started with 150 kids and now we have 210. And it's a school, it's a private school, self-managed, non-profitable. And we do deep essence work and psychological work with the teachers, with parents, and we created a beautiful network. And this is I think this is the most beautiful of all.
I can imagine.
Yes.
Can you tell a little bit of how you approach the parents? The children I think is clear.
No, the children don't need that.
Yeah.
We mess them up.
Yeah.
Some years ago, when my daughter was maybe in the 2nd class of the elementary school, I got to talk with the principal of her school at that time. And we just clicked, and I talked about some psychological or essential principles, and she was like, wow, come and do this in our school. Mm-hmm. And I did it, I volunteered. This is an offering work, I don't want to be paid for that. And I did 3-4 years now work with the teachers. I educated them in essence, in basic psychotherapeutic principles, be able to look at structuring and so on of the character. And then a year after, it was so satisfying that the parents said, what about us, don't we do? So then we started again a volunteer project on the parents, school of parents, and then very soon we were working together, the teachers with the parents, around the beautiful and creating a beautiful network on the children, and creating a situation where the child is really contacted, really contacted. It's not like just about learning A, B, C, D and the numbers. That's of course, yes, why not? But it's about contacting the soul of the kid, and the child really showing up, and the child becomes the teacher, in fact, and the teacher in the class is ready to learn from that, and it becomes a process inside the classroom. I tell you, this is for me, we need to extend our gifts to the service of humanity. There is no other way. There is no other way. If we have a gift, if we learn something from our mistakes, from whatever happened in our lives, we need to really give it further, you know. There is where I find the meaning. You know, I'm feeling very fortunate to be able to come here in Den Haag, in Vajit. I'm offered that space, and I brought, since the last September, the work of the Power of Light here again. And because I was working earlier in Europe and places, and now I started in Holland again. And we have here an ongoing training, the Power of Light training, which is actually a 4-year training. So we started doing the first year, and it's weekends, is a 5-day groups, modules. So there is a continuity, because this is very important, that there is a continuity for people when they open up. So they know they have a safe place, safety. And you know, in the first group we did, the first training, I counted 9 nationalities. So I thought, how we'll become a family, 9 nationalities, I was thinking. And within 5 days, we became a beautiful family. Because I do feel that the healing of one is the healing of all. And so the group is moving like one big embrace for everyone, and we are moving in intimacy. This is very, very deep, very profound, very beautiful. And within a year, people are really flowering and changing and walking the path of the adventure to the inside, to realize their potential, to deal with their psychological issues, but also to emerge in who they truly are, and to use channeling, the gift of intuition, meditation, grounding, all these things, to have a real access to their source. And you know, there is small weekends, there is 5 days, and we start the new first year. We start in February, 15th to 19th, but up to then we have still a lot of, we have 2 weekends, and we have 1 module end of August, 5 days, and in end of December we have a group for therapists here, you know, so it's, we continue. It's very beautiful. I like to feel the evolution. I like to feel the continuity. I like to feel the stability, to provide the safety for people, and something that where they can really feel connected with themselves and others, and it's like caring together, that adventure. I like that.
Yeah. And all the dates are on your website and on the website of Vajit.
Vajit, yes. Yeah, you know, I lived the life of a sannyasin really, and that started very early, from 2022. I was already with a suitcase on the road, but at the same time, you know, I like stability. You know, I like structure. For me, in order to be able to let go, because that's the teaching of Osho, surrendering, letting go. And in order to be able to do this, because I love that, I'm drunk with the wine of existence, so I like to let go. In order to be able to do that, we need also structure. If we don't have structure, if we don't have ground, the experience of letting go and surrendering, it creates a sense of danger and unsafety. If we do have the feeling of structure and stability, that makes it much easier and even welcoming to finally let go, because we do have a basis, and that's very important. So that's how I want to create also my life, and I do, to have a basis, a stability that I owe to myself and my daughter, for sure. And then, being a citizen of the world and sharing the gifts and meeting people. I love that. Of course, in the basis of all this is meditation. Meditation is the basis, is the direct connection to oneself inside. And it's beautiful because you don't need any therapist, and you don't need any priest, and you don't need any teacher. It is available. It is for free, you don't even have to pay tax on it in our days. And we are very lucky that we have this access to meditation. And it's incredible that we have the Orange Book, we have the other book, Freedom, First and Last Bit of Meditation. There are so many meditations. Also, we get out of this traditional idea that meditation is only sitting silently. Meditation is everything. It's about living a life with presence. Living a life with presence. And it's so beautiful that there is so many different meditations that can cover all kinds of people, because we are so complex. Westerners, we have become so complex. So we need so many techniques to find the way back home. And this is very beautiful, I must say. And the work is a meditation, in fact. The work is a meditation. Is a way of meditation. This is the basis.
Beautiful, thank you. Thank you for this interview.
I thank you very much.